been with Star Care for 35 years. So I didn't go there to stay. I went there to maybe spend a year, and I guess I got addicted. So 35 years later, I'm still there. So I work with people who have mental illness. I work with people who have intellectual disabilities. I work with people with substance abuse, people who are aging, people who are in jail. But today what I'd like you to think of me as is a recycler. You know, recycling kind of parallels my life. I was coming to adulthood in the 70s, and that's when we were starting to develop a lot of disposables. Disposables announced its first use in 1963. And it meant an item that was made to be used one time or several times until it was used up. And we did that. We used it, we threw it away, we forgot about it. We loved having disposables because most of us were raised by parents and grandparents who lived through the Depression. And of course, we were taught to use everything until it was no longer usable. We never thought twice about paying a nickel deposit on a Coke. So for us, all of a sudden to have things we just disposed of was a real convenience. And it occurred at a time when we were losing a lot of our spare time, our free time. And so we loved them. We loved disposables. And, you know, we can dispose of almost anything. I was kind of going through what all disposables we have: razors, diapers, of course the great water bottles. We dispose of wrapping paper, paper towels, napkins, cups. We dispose of batteries. I could go on. And again, we love it. Use it, dispose it, forget it. There's kind of only one problem with that. At the same time that we were developing disposables, we were also learning how to dispose of other things, to dispose of people. In the last 30, 40 years, we've seen so many more people disposed of than we ever have before. I kind of start out with a kind of a person I think about as a person, and that's my dog. And how many of you know about disposable pets? It's very common here. You may hear all the time about pets out south of Lubbock that have been let out and are running wild, kind of turned into packs. Those are sweet puppies that were bought at the first of the semester here at Tech. And when their owner went home at the end of the year, they dropped them off in a field out south of town. So all of a sudden we learned how to dispose of our unwanted, grown up, not so cute pets. We learned how to dispose of our friends. In today's time, friends come and go much easier than they did in the days in which we were less mobile, and the days in which we knew most of the people most of our lives. You know, we dispose of our employees, especially those on the lower rungs. They really call disposable employees people that can be fired today and replaced tomorrow, that don't require a lot of skill. We've certainly seen that in the last several years, a lot of disposable employees. We've disposed of the elderly. We got about 14% of the elderly living in nursing homes today. In large part, we don't even have time to listen to them when they talk. We place much less value on their wisdom than we did a few years ago. We dispose of adults. And how do we do that? Well, we dispose of them in many ways. Certainly through the jail system. As you probably know, the United States holds that #1 record for the most imprisoned people in the world, in any one country. And of course, Texas holds that record for #1 state in the union in terms of the number of imprisoned people. When you look at the number of people currently in jail, in prison, on probation, or on parole, that's 7 million people. 7 million disposable people who have had rights taken from them and whose whole life has been altered in a way in which they cannot return to where they started. We dispose of children. You know, I looked at the records of Children Protective Service. It's like 68,000 incidents of abuse and neglect in Texas in 2007. We took 12,000 children from their homes. We paid for 24,000 children to live in foster care. And you know, foster care must be a dream. I was noting that every child who goes to foster care and then eventually actually winds up with a home goes through 3.4 foster care homes. I don't know what y'all think about that, but I think that we really are damaging people before they ever become adults. So as I think about these things, as I think about the people we send to prison, the people that we turn away from employment, I probably most specifically think about people who have disabilities, because that's my background. You know, we know that the prison systems are now full of people who have disabilities. In fact, I was looking on the in our particular state, 75% of the women who are in prison have a mental health or substance abuse diagnosis, and 55% of the men. Now you can imagine prison is not the best spot for people with a mental illness or a severe mental health problem. In fact, it goes against everything that we could hope for in terms of the best treatment. In Lubbock, and I have to tell you that I grew up thinking I was going to go out and change the world. And then I finally figured out I was changing the world. It was just in one spot, in Lubbock. And so that's the most important thing to focus on. I was looking at our data related to mental illness. And it is now approximated that a fourth of the adult population has a diagnosed mental illness in the United States. So if we look at that and look, that's about 30,000 of our citizens. 20% of our kids have either today or since their birth had a severe mental health issue in Lubbock. We see our veterans returning, about a third of them with severe mental health issues. The people currently in the fighting the war and those who have returned from it, one kills himself or herself every 30 hours. In fact, more people will die of suicide than in combat in the war that we're currently in. We have a lot of damaged people. And so, you know, we looked at disposables and how easy we dispose of things and people, and we forget it, and we move on. And, you know, we figured out a long time ago that it's often easier to throw it away and get something new than to fix it. But right now, we really need to focus on how we can fix all the people we have that have severe issues of living in our society. I know that when we look at items, we talk about recycling. I was looking at recycling, kind of like make new, same thing, but make it new. And I was thinking, wouldn't that be great if we could recycle all of the people that are damaged, just here in Lubbock, much less in the United States or in the world. And I think that's a most worthy goal. That I was actually thinking, you know, recycled humans should be posted everywhere we drive and on our billboards, be on our TV set. Now, I will say we're going to have new 314 million people this year in the world. I guess we could just start with them and not recycle the ones we've already lost. But I think, you know, with that methodology, we will never succeed. That we must help people gain inroads back into their community. And that the way we do that, I believe, is by working together. I see a lot more of that today than I used to. And I think that will be our answer for the future. You know, I said I want you to think of me as a recycler, but also a dot connector. Because I think that how we're going to make our future different from our past is by working together with more and more collaborative efforts. And by being focused on the things that we're doing wrong now, like sending people to prison who probably should be given a job, like putting people with mental illness in a facility that makes them sicker. I'm going to spend the next year kind of thinking of this, thinking of how we recycle, and I hope you will do the same. And I hope that next year at this time we can have a dialogue that really looks at how we can change the way our community functions and change the way we address the issues of people who don't probably have it quite as good as we do. So, Mahatma Gandhi said, the nation shall be judged by how it treats its less fortunate. This is not a day I would like to be judged. And I hope it's not a day that you would be proud to be judged when more than a fourth of our people, probably quite a bit more, have very serious issues. So join me in thinking about how to recycle humans. Thank you.